Hello and welcome to this training video. Today we will be looking at code snippets and building blocks. First, we will learn how to create and use a code snippet. We can locate the tool within the cockpit. Here we can see the custom JS helpers tool under the development and resources subsections. There is embedded documentation here within the tool which details how to use it. But before we create a JS helper or a code snippet, it's best practice to ensure the code we're going to use works properly. We can do this by creating a new application within the app designer to generate and test the code. So here we have created a new application within the P8 app designer. We will build a basic application that will serve as a testbed. So we can search for and find the shell, app, and page components and drag and drop them into our application. We can then activate and preview the application within the designer. Next, we drag and drop a button into the page component and change its property of its text to open message box. Within the press event of our button, we can start to build and test our code snippet. This code snippet will be available within the resource pack associated with this training video. This snippet's functionality consists of showing a message box with some text inside, and when the message box is closed, it then triggers the function we've defined, which shows an alert message. After activating the app, we can test this functionality to ensure it works correctly, and indeed it does. We can then alter the code to include comments that describe to the user what they should replace or adjust when they import the code snippet. This is best practice as other developers may still be utilizing code snippets you create within your application. Once we're happy with the code, we can copy it and head back to the custom JS helpers tool to create the snippet. We press edit, unlocking the tool if needs be, followed by add. We can then enter a group name for the snippet and provide a name that describes the functionality. We can then paste the code into the editor and save. To use the snippet we've just created, we can head back to the app designer. We can open up our application, head to the button press event, put the app into edit mode, and now when we right click within the editor, we can mouse over the custom menu item to see all the groups of code snippets we've created. And in our example, we can see the snippet under the tutorial grouping. Clicking on the snippet pastes it straight into the editor. We can then adjust the snippet to suit our needs. And you can, of course, use more code snippets to do this. Fantastic. Heading back to the custom JS helper tool, we can add another code snippet to our existing tutorial group by selecting it from the drop-down. Let's create this snippet, which is a sap.ui.core.valueState snippet, which will include a .error by default, but we'll add a comment showing all the possible endings for this code snippet, which includes .information, .none, .success, and .warning. We can then hit save and display, and now we can see our two snippets as part of one group. Jumping back into the app designer, we can refresh and reload our application. And then within this example, let's add an input field. So we search for input and drag and drop that component into our app. And now within the press event of the button, we can use our new code snippet to set the value state of the input field when the message box is closed. There we are, we've imported the snippet. We can remove the comment, and then all we need to do is add input.setValueState to the start of the snippet. And now we can test it again. So we activate, head to the preview, press the button, there's our message box, and then on close, we can see the input field turns red, representing the value state of error. Next, we will look at how to create and use a building block. When you open the App Designer, you'll see there is a drop-down allowing you to view and edit applications or building blocks. Everything about the designer is the same in both scenarios. However, if you have selected building block as the application type, then it will be available to be used as a building block within other applications, and we will see how this works. So here we will create a new building block, which will just be a standard useful template of just a starting page with a header and a footer. So we can create it here. It's always a good idea to set a description for the building block so other developers can quickly understand the use case for it. And then we can simply build it like a normal application. So in this example, we will add a shell, an app, and a page component. And then within the page, we can add a bar component, setting it to custom header. And then within the bar, we can add 3 bar content elements, setting each one to left, middle, and right. We can then repeat this process for a second bar, which will be the footer. If we activate the app, we can see a plain page with a header and a footer. Next, I will give each component a unique identifier at the end of the name. In this case, I will append BB to each one. This is so when it's imported into another application, there'll be no naming conflicts, and it's easy to rename the components. And we'll see an example of this in a moment. Before we finish up, within the settings of the designer, we can add a tile group name to the building block, so it's organized within the menu later. So here we go into the settings, and I'm going to use the term demo group. After a save, I can refresh the page, and we can open a fresh, brand new application that I made earlier. Now, within the app, we can right-click within the element tree and select building blocks. This opens the dialog containing all the reusable building blocks available within your system. Towards the bottom of this list, we can see the demo group we named a moment ago, which contains the standard page with header and footer building block that we made. We can select it to see the preview within the dialog, and then we can click Insert to add the elements within our application. And now to demonstrate how to rename the building blocks, we can import the same building block again. Now you can see I can simply take the page component and delete the shell and app from the second imported building block. If we activate, however, we will see we have a load of naming conflicts, as there are lots of duplicate names. This is easy to avoid since we've added these extra letters at the end of the components within the building blocks. So we can right click on the page component, mouse over rename objects and choose rename, and then we simply find BB and replace it with any unique identifier. And now we have an application with 2 pages ready to be used. You can, of course, import building blocks into other building blocks. So here I can import the product card and just drag and drop the O card parent component into one of my pages. And then again, delete the excess. If we activate, we can see that product card straight on our page there. You can easily find and import more building blocks by clicking Discover More Building Blocks within the building block dialog. This opens the store, which is embedded within the app designer, and here we can browse all the available building blocks which can be imported and customized straight away, all for free. This list is constantly growing as Neptune and the community create and share new building blocks. To use them within your system, click Import to view it within the building block dialog within the app designer. So here I'm just having a quick browse through, found the one that I want, and I simply click Import, and it's good to go.
It's also possible to test out any of these applications simply by clicking the test button, and then you can have a go with a live version of the application.